Hello! Welcome back to Chris Dyer's Creative Friends, the super awesome podcast show where me, your artist friend Chris Dyer, interviews all his super awesome creative friends. Look how good I'm getting at this intro. I can do it while riding a bike. Today I am in Montreal and I am interviewing my blood brother, Peru Dyer. Woo! So Patrick is my brother since all my life. He's a great muralist. He's very successful. He's a family man. He's a traveler. He's very interesting. And it should be a great interview. I hope you enjoy. Blessings!
Talks about passion between the women and the men. Chris Dyer and his creative friends, darling. Ooh, ooh, ooh,
Hey, what's up, Peru?
Hello, brother Chris.
Hey, how you doing? I got
Great.
you. I brought you a beer for this conversation. I know you like fruity beers. There's pamplemousse and there's apricot.
Give me some pamplemousse.
Le pamplemousse explosion.
Merci.
All right. Have a little, midday beer in the sun on this crisp. Sorry, it's a little bit shaking. I biked around with it on this little beer on the ground for the brothers who ain't around. Crisp yet sunny autumn day here in Montreal. Salud.
Salud, hermano.
Where are we? What's this thing behind us?
We're in Saint Michel in the street du Havre, which is just down the street from Frontenac Metro.
Okay.
I believe it's called Frontenac Park.
Mm-hmm.
It's the property of the natural gas company here in Quebec called Énergir.
Mm-hmm.
Used to be called Gas Metro. They're rebranded. And they asked me to paint this mural a few months ago.
Okay. Nice. It's like the longest in the world?
I don't know. It's hard to kind of look up what's the longest mural in the world and the longest mural in Canada or Quebec. No one's kind of assigned a label to it yet.
Mm-hmm.
I was told that this was the longest wall in Quebec before, and I've been researching. There's nothing else out there. I know there's a long wall in Toronto, but it's like 60 artists.
Uh-huh.
So it's probably the longest wall in Canada by a single artist.
Nice. Well, maybe you should call Guinness and tell them to put you in the book, or at least to, confirm to you if it's true or not. But I'm always impressed by your big budget, murals that you get, because it's a different echelon than I get. And,
It's a different brand, and it attracts different clients. Ellie, who runs the company Moo, has kind of a sensitivity to pair artists with the right walls that match their style.
Uh-huh.
And she could see where my style was going and where it's been going.
Uh-huh.
And when this wall came up, she thought of me right away. So I'm very, very fortunate to have her on my corner.
Okay.
She's always looked out for me and looked for good walls to match the styles that I'm working with.
Nice. Well, congrats.
Thank you.
Took you 2 weeks?
It took about 12 days throughout a month.
Okay.
No weekends and the odd day off for whatever reason. But,
You had some assistance too?
had a lot of assistants. Moo's good with that. They provided me with at least two daily assistants that were experienced, if not 3. And there was a community day which involved everyone here, like residents and people from STM, some of them are very passionate about murals. People from Énergir and anyone who wanted to be a part of it, and they had twice as many people as expected. Mm-hmm. So they filled a lot of spaces quick.
I heard even Teddy Dyer got down on that wall at one point.
Yeah, he came to help me with the dedication, the signature.
Uh-huh.
And he was very stern in directing me and making sure I didn't misspell any words, which I still did anyway.
Uh-huh. That's cool. How was having your dad around for the inauguration of an important wall?
It's a big deal for me. I was happy because I've had a few of these, and it's nice to have the wife and kids there. But kind of like when I used to play soccer, I never had anyone come see me, so I didn't care. I didn't even think about it. But it's nice when they're there to see you achieve something or
make the parents proud. All right, so I'm gonna make you some questions. I got some questions here. First question: who's your favorite brother?
Well, we're all brothers, so we're favorites.
Who's your favorite brother?
Favorite blood brother would have to be you, my friend.
Yeah, correct answer. Woo! Number one. So you just got back to Montreal. You were in Toronto before. Do you consider yourself a Montrealer? What do you like about Montreal? And how does it compare to Toronto? I know that's a lot of questions, but they're all in the same thing.
Yeah,
Tell me about Montreal and Toronto.
Okay, I really don't want to shit talk Toronto too much because it gave me a lot, and
How long did you live there?
I was in Toronto for 8 years. I was in Montreal for a little over 10 years before that, so I got very used to the lifestyle here, and it was more in tune with how we grew up, more Latin styled.
What does that mean, Latin style?
Like working to live as opposed to living to work, which is the Toronto way, the Ontario and the British way that kind of carried over. Kind of a tough city, partly because it's expensive and spread out. It's hard to get around. This transportation system is not the best, so it's not my favorite place in the world. But Montreal is. The minute I came here, I saw the beauty in it, and I fell in love with the city, and I keep discovering things still to this day. It's kind of a magical place. It's a lot of chance encounters and great memories that I've had with people, everyone I know, basically. Mm-hmm. I came across a video I filmed 20 years ago when I used to come visit for Under Pressure.
Okay.
And I had forgotten about all these great times, and you come and you go bombing and you go drinking and you're an idiot and you have the best time of your life and you don't worry about anything and you don't have money and it's the best,
It's more relaxed.
Yeah, you don't need a lot to have a good time here, and people are happy. They're happy being here. Cost of living is lower and everything's close. It's an island, so it kind of encloses the goodness.
Right, it's not this sprawl that never ends. Like Toronto's like what, eating up other cities around
it keeps
right?
growing and growing, and it's very cutthroaty there.
Mm-hmm. What's the art scene like?
It's shifting a lot. I'm no expert, but I have noticed a serious spike in beef. People not getting along.
Like in the graffiti scene, street art,
a bit of both. There's more competition. Part of the reason Montreal works for me is because things like en masse can give birth to it. Mm-hmm. I was in Tremblant for Spin 2008 with Jason Botkin and Tim Bernard, and they were talking about starting en masse, and it wasn't a question of if it could happen, more like how and when, and they gathered people from all disciplines and made it work, and now we're all friends and we work together on different projects and we apply for grants together, and there's less of a competition. Mm-hmm. Whereas Toronto has so many artists and they're all competing for the same things, and it becomes a bit of a competition.
Right. Well, hopefully it's less competitive here in Montreal. I never feel like I'm in competition with anybody here in this city, because everybody's doing their own thing. There's so many flavors, and if I ever see like a Montreal artist doing good outside of Montreal, I'm like, hell yeah, Montreal represents.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's a vibe here. People love each other, and
right.
It's not perfect, but it's definitely the best city I've ever lived in. I've been in. Traveled a lot, and I lived in 3 continents, in 5 different cities, and Montreal is by far the best, even better than Europe and even Latin America. So it's a very special place for me.
I hope I can continue living here. For now, I'm gonna duck out for a bit till the rules get back to normal, but I hope to be able to continue living in this dear city of mine. Tell me about your artist name, Peru 143. What does that mean? Where does that come from?
When I moved to Canada, when I was 16, I lived in Ottawa, and my first friend was this guy who used to ride Uphone, who later rode Anode and then rode Uphone again. And they couldn't quite pronounce Patricio well enough, and I've never been fond of Patrick, having grown up in Peru as a white dude. I came to Canada and I wanted to assert myself as Peruvian, and they couldn't pronounce Patricio well enough, and so they're like, oh, let's call you Peru, you know, you're the Peruvian guy. And it stuck, and then I used it in a few pieces, and then it just stayed with me.
Mm-hmm.
And the 143 comes out of homage to the first riders, you know, Taki and Cornbread and so on, writing their street name, straight number. 143 was our house number growing up. And
La Duquesa.
La Duquesa. Papa did not want to pay for the municipality to make it official for 15 years or so we would write it with Crayola or permanent marker or whatever chalk, and the rain would fade it, and then we'd do it again. So it was kind of the first seed of subversive nature that was planted in me. You don't always have to follow the rules. And when he sold it, he found out it was 141, which was hilarious, and he put 141 on the door and 143 on the garage door to stick it to them still.
Mm-hmm.
And I always loved that story.
And there's a meaning to 143, right?
I later on learned, someone told me that in pager culture it meant I love you, and you know, it goes further back. You know, Mr. Rogers talking about it's code for I love you, 1 I, love, 4 you, 3 letters.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I love having love in my name itself, because that's kind of what I try to spread, and
Mm-hmm.
it's rooted in positivism. I try to, you know, uplift people's spirits with my work, and having that in my name, it's a nice pairing.
Nice. How long have you been doing art, or let's say graffiti? Like, when did you start using Peru 143, or like?
I started doing graffiti 25 years ago in Lima, and murals maybe 10, 15 years ago,
Okay.
more officially.
So, if you had to rename yourself today, what would be your name? Like, say Peru's like, okay, that was a thing when I was 16 and I went with it, but if you had to give yourself a new name today, like a street name, would you choose a different one? Like
a street name, I don't know if I change it. I would just stick with it till I die. If I were to have more of a public artist name, it'd probably just be my real name.
Mm-hmm.
To honor our parents, and you know, it was a given name by birth. But I never really thought about it. I had a secret alias that I used in case of getting in trouble. It was George Kaplan.
What's it called?
George Kaplan.
George Kaplan.
He's a character from a Hitchcock movie, North by Northwest. He's basically the guy that everyone's looking for who doesn't exist.
Mm-hmm.
So it's very appropriate for an alter ego.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, no, I'll think about that.
Nice. So you always did art as a kid, like we always drew as kids, but I guess when you first started like asserting yourself as an artist, it was through graffiti. Mm-hmm. What's your first memories with the spray can, and then how did that lead through tagging or whatever get more into North American style, quote unquote graffiti?
That's a good question. I think after you moved to Canada, I discovered graffiti, and it like resonated with who I was, and I finally found something that was my own. And it also kind of carried forward from our soccer gang days, where we used to write our soccer name around, and that was a really enjoyable aspect of the whole experience to me.
Writing Sepulcro.
Yeah.
Tagging around our neighborhood. Remember when you got caught?
A couple times, yeah.
Yeah.
One time I got caught near the Jockey Plaza, and I think it was with 2 dudes, and I had, I think, 3 soles, and that's all it took for the cops to let us go and keep going, which is very different from how it goes down here.
Right.
But then moving here with my limited knowledge of graffiti that I kind of picked up a little bit when the internet came at the tail end of my high school years in Markham, and just from seeing it in stadiums and soccer and skate parks, I just wanted to continue that. And then, you know, meeting people here in Ottawa and around, they kind of carried me and showed me the ropes, and then yeah, I just dove really deep into it and fell in love with the lifestyle.
In Peru, did you ever do a piece, like a North American style graffiti piece?
I did a couple. The one that was the most notorious was in the highway. I was the only one in my crew of friends that did graffiti. They were all intrigued and came with me, but they were just 17 lookouts in the highway, so it was really fun. And I went to the hardware store, I ordered my paint.
What year is this?
96, 97.
Uh-huh.
And I got the Abro paint with a soccer player in the can, and it was terrible, and it stank.
Drippy,
and, yeah,
unhealthy.
It was a terrible piece. I did Dream, not knowing that there was already a well-known, dearly departed artist called Dream. But it was awful and illegible anyway, so I did that, and then I grew from there. But it was such a unique and exhilarating experience to do it in Peru, you know?
Right, because it was illegal too. For you, what's the definition of graffiti?
I've heard so many definitions of it. I would say graffiti originally was a subversive response to an oppressive system. Later on became more of an art form, and it was a kind of a barometer for public disregard. But to me, it's more of a therapeutic activism.
Therapeutic activism. Does graffiti have to be illegal in order for it to be graffiti?
Yeah, by definition, it has to be.
So as soon as somebody's doing a piece, but it's allowed, it's not graffiti anymore, even though it looks like graffiti.
Technically speaking, yeah, you could have like a legend paint a Hall of Fame that's legal and condoned. He might even get paid. That, yeah, it's not illegal, so it technically isn't graffiti, but it's a graffiti-style mural. I mean, labels are silly. I've always hated the label street art, because any art on the street is technically street art, a sculpture or
it fucked
nice
it up
building.
once like street art became street art. It's like, but I thought street art was like skateboard art and graffiti and just quirky whatever chalk shit on the floor. Like it could be anything street culture.
Never been a fan of that. It makes no sense. And also there's a whole parallel with skateboarding. It's reappropriating a public space and turning it into a playground or a place to, you know, be creative and express yourself.
Right. So in that whole vibe that graffiti has to be illegal, what's your point of view on racking, on stealing cans? It seems like it's like a big thing that like true graffiti artists don't even buy cans. They go to the store and they steal them.
Yeah, that's how you get started.
You did that too, right?
Yeah, I did that a bunch.
Remember that time where we got caught at Walmart and my dad was working there at the time?
Yeah, that was not a proud moment for me for sure. That was kind of a turning point. Then I stopped doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have to steal anymore. That started out of a necessity, but now I can get paint for free a lot, so I don't take risks, unnecessary risks. Being a husband and a father and all that, I have to be mindful of those things.
Do you still consider yourself to be a graffiti artist? Do you still do it, seeing that we just define graffiti as something illegal?
Sort of. I'm a retired graffiti artist, but I still pop back in every once in a while because it's a passion. A passion doesn't die, you know. I'll always do it. I kind of look forward to when I'm in my 70s, 80s, and I can get back into it.
In your 80s?
Yeah, you can get away with a lot when you're older.
Sorry, I'm incredibly old.
Yeah.
He's just demented. He didn't know he was doing illegal activities.
Exactly. I don't know. We'll see what happens and how the world is then. But But yeah, I still love it, and I pay a lot of attention to it, and I follow it, and I respect it a lot, and I take it in consideration when I paint legal things.
The love will always be there.
Yeah.
I imagine like if I couldn't skateboard at some point because my body wouldn't allow it, I would always still consider myself a skater.
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah, once a rider, always a rider. And for this mural, for example, they wanted a community mural. So I'm like, hey, let me get a rider involved because it's a huge wall. Let's share the wealth and the space. It's an iconic wall. Try and get Zach involved, and they were all for it. And if you want a community mural, you got to involve the graffiti community, especially when they've been appropriating the wall. Like, it's a tricky situation when it comes to ownership.
Right, because you got to go over tags, and that's kind of like disrespect in the streets almost, right?
Yeah, and I mean, they were down until the last step, and they're like, why is he going to write this word? And I'm like, that's what he writes, that's what graffiti is. And they're like, no, we don't want that, the community's not gonna understand it. And I try to fight it, and I mean, it's only so much you can do, and eventually we just had to let it go. But luckily enough...
What's the word you wanted to write?
Oh, he wanted to write Zek, you know, so that's what he writes. That's what I wanted to. I wanted to have more writers involved. And
and what does it say instead?
It says, in French, it says innovation, inclusion, positive energy, elements together.
So a lot of space, so I guess you can write a whole paragraph.
Yeah. And they gave me some suggestions for words, and I mean, the words are kind of like intentions that you put out, and when I paint, I'm very conscious of my thoughts and trying to stay positive, and I told that to everybody that was painting, you know, keep your mind right when you're painting, because you're charging the wall with energy and it's gonna emanate to the people. And it was the same with choosing the words. I kind of had a little alliteration, and I hugged the word positive energy in the middle, and I'm trying to make it somewhat poetic, but no one's really... Most people can't read it. It's more an aesthetic, and yeah, I think it turned out well enough. People are happy.
Yeah, it looks beautiful. Hopefully it doesn't get bombed. Or
yeah, I mean, if
bombed,
it does, it happens. If not, I'm happy, but just fix it.
No problem. We just move spots. It's so good. Let's go to the next question that I had, that we got interrupted with a leaf blower. When did you transition from graffiti to doing murals as a job?
Murals was the official mural that got me started on it was when I won a pilot project with Evoke, which is a legendary Ottawa Canadian painter. It was for the NCC in Ottawa. We got this pilot project, and we did a good enough job that it caught the attention of Mu, and they reached out, and then I did my first mural with them in 2008. There was one in Côte-des-Neiges that got cancelled, but we ended up doing the first mural in NDG, I believe, which is where our mother was born. So that was cool, and yeah, it's been murals and graffiti since.
Nice. Would you say like Mu is your biggest, I don't know if they're a client or somebody who gets you clients. What are they?
They're a not-for-profit, but they kind of fall under the category of like an agency. They,
it's like a mural agency.
They apply for money, and they pair up with brands or organizations or companies, and they try and beautify the city, usually low-income neighborhoods, which is a nice, noble approach. But yeah, that's a tricky thing to navigate in Montreal. But I started monetizing of art in high school, I believe, when I used to get arrested for skateboarding or graffiti. Okay. And I didn't want our parents to find out, so I would sell canvases just hand in hand and at school, and then pay for my fines. But,
right. I remember those, because I was living with you at the time. I got kicked out of Nanny's, and you had these like really skinny canvas panel thingies. And I thought like, oh, that's so fun, I want to do some too. So I was trying to almost like imitating your graffiti style.
But yeah, those were cheap canvases and paint markers, and that got me started in doing paintings and having art shows. And I even got to do a little tour of Europe, but it ended up being really taxing and expensive, and not much of a return in terms of making a living, so I gave that up, and I started painting some commissions in the last couple of years, but I don't like working in small formats. I like going as big as I can, and the bigger the better, more impactful. I've
never had much luck with Mu. Like, I've met the ladies, I've hanged out, even gotten drunk once at Cabaret Underworld, but I've never really been able to get a job. I guess I'm not very good at like making proposals and sketches and filling forms.
There's different ways to approach it. You can send designs, and they can find walls, but it could take years. Or yeah, you can meet up with them and see what's available. And also, often, usually, actually always, the client's the one that chooses the artist. So they'll propose the artists, and they'll select. I don't always get selected, so I get lucky when I do.
Okay. What would you say are your biggest clients, and what are some of your favorite? I don't know if they intersect.
I really liked working with Collective Arts in Toronto. They're a good group of people.
Beer company.
What they do is they hire artists to make art for their labels, and they pay them an honorarium, and it changes every season. They've hired hundreds of artists. I was a judge on Series 8 a few years ago.
Okay.
And there were hundreds and hundreds of artists from all over the world that applied for it, so it's cool. You get a little trophy beer that's empty with a plaque and a thing.
A
and
plaque? Oh,
like
I never got that when I
you
did
get a
mine.
certificate.
Really?
Depends what it is you do. I've done 4 labels, and
I only did one for them once. I got some beer. They sent me a case of beer, I guess, but not like a plaque and shit.
I don't know. I guess if they sent your beer, it probably had your art in it.
Yeah.
At the beginning, I remember they used to send the bottles because they didn't have cans yet, and it was a bottle with a little certificate, and it was empty, you know.
Okay. Very legit.
But yeah, it's really expensive. It's like millions of dollars to make it and send it to each artist around the world. It's not a profitable endeavor for them, but it's part of their mission and vision. So I respect that. And they hired me to paint their test room. The mural we did for them, that was huge.
Yeah, that was a super fun
light
mural.
painting, and
I know that's probably like small budget for you, but for me at the time, it's like, what, 4 Gs? And I get a machine and they put me in an hotel. I was like, this is the kind of jobs that I want.
Yeah, that's a good standard.
Plus, it was a collab with Bruno and Shellac, who I love, and somebody else, but I can't remember that.
Yeah, Jordan War. They asked me to find a local artist, and he's a well-known tattoo artist that I respect, and
nice.
He did a good job.
Okay, so you curated that.
Yeah.
Nice.
I helped. Yeah.
They
asked me to curate that wall a few years before, and they wanted an en masse style mural, and I was like, oh, it's huge, and you need a ton of people, but let's see if it works. And
it would have been kind of expensive, like having 20 people painting it for like a long time.
Yeah, it was ambitious, and I did their testing room in that black and white style, so I think they were happy with that.
Getting kind of hot, huh?
Yeah, I want to take off my sweatshirt and not ruin the speaker situation.
Yeah, do your thing. I'm just gonna take off my hat and let my dome get like a little bit of sun, so I don't have like a white fucking... You can also do it without a shirt. That would be quite sexy.
Sure.
No, that MF Doom t-shirt's sweet. You don't have to do it without a shirt. I'm just kidding.
No, I love MF Doom. I like how he writes rhymes like a writer sketches a drawing, you know? He perfects them, and he's a writer too.
Yeah?
I
didn't know that.
He bombed.
Okay, and, cool. Do you know what he died of? He died like
I think
last
it was
year.
a brain, I don't know. It doesn't matter. It's just sad, man. He was such a genius.
Right. He was young. He was like probably in his 40s.
I think it's his anniversary soon. There's a Doom Day coming up.
All right.
And there's
nice.
they named the street after him. And
in San Francisco?
In New York.
Okay.
Yeah, he's a New Yorker.
Okay. For some reason I thought he was from the Bay. What other clients have you done work for?
I've painted murals for Facebook, which was, they were always questionable, and now I'm not super inclined to work with them. But at the beginning, they gave me full creative control. They paid well, and they left me alone, which is rare. Mm-hmm. I did a couple walls, and then they're like, "Oh, you want to do an en masse wall here?" And we painted a little en masse wall.
In Facebook also?
In the Facebook headquarters in Toronto.
Okay.
Then they asked me to do frames for their augmented reality project. I did a couple of those, and then they asked me to fly to LA, and we filmed some promos, promoting it, which was cool because I was kind of working alongside Douglas Copeland, which is a famous artist, Canadian artist I really respect.
Okay.
He lives in Vancouver, I believe. But I don't think that worked out too well.
No?
And then I was in their book, in their the first 5 years of the Artist in Residency program, the Facebook Air. And so I have this great book with all these great artists, and I'm in it, and very proud of that.
How does it feel working for a brand that, maybe at the time when you did it wasn't so bad? It was like, oh, social media, it's just like a joke. But then now they're kind of ruling the world and deciding, what information is good, what information is bad. They kind of like seem very corporate and corrupted in a way,
Yeah, it seems to happen. Greed takes over and ruins everything. Mm-hmm. Power corrupts, absolutely, kind of thing.
You also did something for the Raptors, the basketball team from Toronto.
Yeah, I did something for the Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment. just as the Raptors were winning, and that was really cool. They also let me do what I wanted to do, but they wanted traditional graffiti and emblems of the city. Done stuff for a lot of major brands like Bell and Cirque du Soleil, and try not to work with banks as much anymore. A lot of cool brands. You have to kind of think a bit deeper about it to remember. But
I'm always impressed by the big brands you work for. Like, it's funny that we're very similar, that we both do murals and we're both artists, but we're on two totally different
sides of the spectrum.
Routes. Like you get all these big brands with big budgets, and I'm out there painting little murals for wheat growers.
Well, I've been trying to get into the cannabis industry a bit more.
Man, lots of bees on us, man. They're attacking
the
me.
beer. They love beer, these bees.
Oh man, I'm gonna chug this shit.
But yeah, I don't know. I think my style is a little more digestible and easy to place in a lot of situations.
Mm-hmm.
It's not offensive. It's not busy. It's not. It's easy to kind of use as a background for them.
Mm-hmm.
I developed it out of graffiti, so to me, it still kind of has that root.
Mm-hmm.
And,
but you got different styles, right? Like this is a style you've been doing for the last, what, 5 years?
10 years, I'd say.
10 years? And it's like your main style that you use for jobs?
Yeah, it's a style that I get requested to do most.
Mm-hmm.
I used to do an architectural style, like a cluster of houses that got really popular, but I exhausted that style.
It's more difficult to do.
Yeah, I did 2D, 3D. I built an actual miniature city at Osheaga that came from working as a display artist from Urban Outfitters. I learned a lot of woodworking and all kinds of skills.
Mm-hmm.
And that led me to do installations for Osheaga.
What other styles you have that to play with? Is there something you want to play in the future? I saw you doing like a new flower style that was kind of cool.
Yeah, I played around with flowers. Someone I painted with a lot in the past few years is Bacon, and that's his bread and butter. Like, people just really like flowers. It's something really easy to
Who
throw
doesn't
around.
like a flower?
So I gave it a
beautiful.
try, and it was fun. It's not something I want to be known for, but it's something that I can do, and if people want that on top of anything else I do, I can do that.
Uh-huh.
I'd like to get into figurative work eventually, but that's kind of more something I fear because I've never been good at figures and anatomy and.
Like realism?
Yeah, not necessarily realism. I don't know where that'll take me, but it's something I like to explore. I have my graffiti lettering style that I always like to play with. The styles that I developed with Omas that were kind of the black and white, more pre-Columbian style. It has a lot of symmetry and has figures in it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, no, I'm enjoying this for now, and I'm kind of almost ready to move on to the next thing.
Mm-hmm. Would your art have like a subject matter? Like, is there something in particular that you say with your art? Or does it have to be spelled out with a word in order to be the specific thing? Or is like, tell me a little bit more what you're trying to say with your expression.
With this particular art, I feel like I've been more successful in expressing what I want to share, and that's just trying to lift people's spirits, do something really that's easy on the eyes, that's colorful and vibrant and cheerful, and it just art has an incomprehensible like grip on people. It's kind of always hard to explain or describe how art makes us feel, but I've developed this from people's response to my art. So I started to do this in my graffiti. I throw a watermelon in there and people would stop biking and be like, "Wow, that's hilarious." And you know, our dad has a few watermelon paintings, so it was always kind of something that I liked. And it was funny to me, and watermelons are just such a gigantic, silly fruit, and it's just water mostly, just like us, like 70% or so.
Right.
So I started to do those, and people were responding very positively, and they would smile and laugh and tell a story or something. So I threw a rainbow on the other end, and I created an emblem and a logo, which led me to the next symbol, and that was more, to me, it's like the ocean and the glare and the sun and the sunset, and that's growing up in Peru, going to the beach and not having any responsibilities, just being a kid and having fun and enjoying life.
Mm-hmm.
And those are the moments I'm trying to kind of encapsulate in little icons and share that with the world to see how they respond.
Nice.
Like just usually circles.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to get, a dozen of them, and once that's done, just move into something completely different. But yeah, just trying to cheer people up. It's a hard world, and art is power, art is love. So gotta use it as a weapon, as a tool.
Beautiful. Very nice.
Art can be really healing, and I'm an aspiring healer, so
Mm-hmm.
we'll see where this leads.
Beautiful, man. Please tell me about some trips you've done for your art. Where you travel around the world to do your beautiful art expressions.
Where have I traveled? I've been, through, classic spots in Europe, and I went to Mexico once, which I'd love to go back to. It's my favorite place in the world. I went to represent En Masse, and I was the only Canadian artist there. I pulled some San Diego and American artists and some local Mexican artists, the Hem crew, some of which I'm really tight with now. And we did a wall, and then we did a car as it was inching into the border to kind of raise awareness on the absurdity and injustice of how it is to cross the border there. It took about 2-3 hours to cross the border, and on the way back it didn't take more than a minute. You didn't even have to slow down, you just drive right through. So that was a fun experience with Dyer. They're a local organization here in Montreal as well. I've been to China as well with En Masse. That was a great trip. Kind of one of those culture shocking experiences with a bunch of dudes and ladies, and we had a great time. Did some side jobs with Nike and Converse, and it's just great to kind of be in the subway and see a baby with a shirt that says "I love surgery." It's just so much weirdness in other places in the world.
Mm-hmm.
That's great to absorb. A lot of humor out there. I got to go to Japan when my kids were about 1.5 years or 2 years old. That was a great experience because that's kind of what I wanted for them, to travel with me and stay in a place for a few weeks and experience that culture and absorb it and learn from it and grow from there.
Mm-hmm.
And they still remember it. We went to Tokyo Disney, and it was some of the best days of my life.
How old were you them by then?
How old was I?
No, the kids.
They were, I think, 2.
Okay. That's cool to
1.5.
remember.
Yeah.
I don't think I remember much when I was 2.
They'll probably forget, and they'll remember things from pictures that we show them or videos, which we have enough of. So.
Right. Tell me about Cuba.
Cuba was great. That was 2011, and we were going there because we found a great deal. Usually we go where the deals are paired with where we really want to go and learn from, places that are changing with time. But I learned about their skate scene, and I linked up with dudes in Miami who were already kind of established an ongoing relationship and route.
Amigo Skate.
Amigo Skate. They introduced me to Che, Alejandro, and a few people that helped me coordinate the trip and learn about the politics behind it. I reached out to everyone I knew could help in town, yourself, and Vance, and Sterling from Under Pressure, Barry Walsh, Mark Tisson. They all donated a bunch of boards and gear and shoes and magazines and stuff.
Wheels.
And I had too much stuff to carry. It was kind of difficult. I had about 40 boards.
Right.
And we organized a skate competition just outside of Havana. And there were 100 kids there. Everyone who participated got a prize. So, they were really, really happy to have us there. And it was a very fulfilling part of the trip to not just go and exploit, but to give something back and help a scene that I'm a part of, or at least used to be a part of. Since the kids were born, a lot of things changed. Like, I don't really skate anymore. It's sad. I'll probably get a little bit back into it as a geriatric skater, but...
What's your relationship with skateboarding? Tell me your roots and what it brought into your life.
It brought a lot of lessons that were necessary to learn as a kid, We started, because we saw our cousins skating, and the culture is just so rich and cool. And it teaches you perseverance and,
Do it yourself.
Discipline and a lot of things, yeah.
That little board we made you, that was so cool.
The board my dad cut in his workshop. So it's really weird shaped and heavy, just a piece of 3/4 inch plywood.
Yeah.
Giant trucks, and you guys drew a Roscoe graphic on it.
Hand-drawn Roscoe
really cool.
graphic.
I wish we still had that. That would be like.
Oh, dude, to have that would be so precious.
Yeah.
With the trucks.
Yeah.
Too.
Trucks were too long for the
Oh,
board.
dude, it's like such a memorable. I wonder where it ended up. I was kind of bummed that you sold my Vision Shredder board.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, that's my, but at the time I just left Canada at 16. I didn't
yeah.
think about it neither. It's not like I was like, hey, keep this for me. And it's like,
Yeah, I was just sitting there, and Alvaro Wang, my first best friend in life, he wanted to get into skateboarding, so I gave it to him, and he got started. But then he moved back to Costa Rica, and we never saw him again. Or he came for my wedding, actually.
Do you think he might still have it?
I can ask him.
Yeah,
I doubt it, but you never know what people keep, what they
You
deem
never
as-
know. If he still has got the Vision Shredder, that's a board you can never find, even as a
Yeah.
remake. It was never a famous board. It's not in the disposal book. I look on the internet, I can't even find a picture of it. It's
Yeah,
such
and it was a
weird
great graphic too. It was cool.
Yeah, but it
Nice
meant so much to me as a kid. What's your relationship with marijuana?
Marijuana. Well, you introduced me to it in Peru in Lunawana. And,
What age were you at the time?
15, I think.
Okay.
I didn't get anything from it that time.
Right. Seems
Then
like-
when I moved to Canada, we used to do it in Nanny's rooftop. And then I
That was so funny.
got the
I would
benefits.
sneak out while Nanny was sleeping.
It was such a part of the experience.
And we had a huge penthouse ballroom that no one
always
used.
empty. I had so many jams there with friends too.
Right, to throw parties there was so fun. And dangerous. You get
Yeah.
drunk and you just fall off the edge so easy.
Sure.
I'm so happy you didn't fall off the edge when you threw that computer off to the swimming pool. Like in the video, it looks like if you would have held on to the cable of that computer a little bit longer, it would have pulled you in, and you
No,
would have
I was-
fallen off.
I was far away enough from the edge to remember, but I did that a few times, just tossing monitors off downstairs from the bus stations.
Because that's the year 2000, where everybody thought like Y2K is destroying all the computers, so everybody is just throwing all these computers out, and we're just down to break them.
But yeah, I kind of went on and off with smoking herb. Whenever it wasn't a good vibe, I would stop and I would pick it up when it was. It never had a grasp on me. Like I never felt, like addicted in any way. So I used it, whenever it was advantageous, and eventually it was always advantageous. I have a lot of anxiety that can be dealt with many ways, but getting high and not excessively, I almost microdose it, so I'm always in a good space.
Like one little toke?
Yeah, I was always shy and just kind of nervous, and
That's cool that it takes away your anxiety. To me, it gives me anxiety.
yeah, that's what it does to most people, which is funny, because I remember on my grad trip with my Peruvian friends, it was then that I learned that a friend of mine, I won't mention his name, but he wasn't doing well in school until he started smoking, and then he was able to focus and learn what he was reading, and he aced everything. And then I realized, it doesn't have to be the way it's portrayed or popularly known as, the way it affects our parents, like
That was a friend in Canada or in Peru?
that was in Peru.
Okay, so you had a friend in like a 15-year-old.
Yeah, well,
And-
by then it was 17, 18, and I learned, I can actually help you gain focus, and I learned about the different strains, and I'm more of a sativa kind of guy that picks you up and makes you focus and alert, and
Oh, cool. I'm more of an indica dude. I want
well,
to be
that-
relaxed.
yeah, that'll
that-
put you on a couch and chill, It's-
I'm fine with that. I'm fine with the body buzz over the I like to be like hyper stoned too, but that's when it gets my heart racing and the anxiety going. Like I get a little bit more like,
yeah.
I vibrate too fast.
Yeah, I'll do that at the end of the night when I'm ready to sleep, and it'll help me sleep peacefully, like the THC.
Nice.
But yeah.
Cool.
I also
Wha-
don't really drink. I quit drinking a long time ago, and I'll pick up a Radler, which is just grapefruit juice. You can drink like a dozen of them throughout the day in a barbecue, and you won't get drunk, and that's what I'm trying to avoid, just getting sloppy and
Yeah.
do anything I'll regret. So yeah, marijuana helps me keep focused, and then I'm good, I
Nice.
can be a better person.
What about cookies? Are you still addicted to cookies?
Sugar is my main addiction and my main struggle in life.
Oh, yeah?
I've been on some serious, scary places, and I have ups and downs, and I usually have a grip on it, and I try to reduce the dosage, so I'm not consuming more than the recommended 40 grams for my build. But oftentimes I'm consuming hundreds of grams a day, and it doesn't affect me. I just got results from my doctor. I'm in tip-top shape as always. He's like, keep doing what you're doing, and I'm like, yeah, but I'm worried about
what
this.
about the chocolate chip
I
cookies from the dip?
And there's so much, and I've gone through experiments where I try and like shove them down my mouth and just learn to hate them, and it's worked with a lot of things. But then they come up with something new, and they start drenching M&Ms and popcorn, and
Oh damn.
you know they're not very nice. They're trying to
But
get
you're
you.
lucky you never got fat at least. Like
Yeah, I have
seems like you can eat as much as you want. You always stay skinny.
I have fast metabolism, and it's starting to slow down. So I'm trying to be more conscious of what I eat. I try to drink more, green juices, and try and.
You drink one of those
Some-
green juices a day?
I should be, and I will be. I try and eat a lot of fruit and not eat so much junk food. We're not great cooks at home, so we end up ordering a lot. So we try to be careful, but. Exercise is a big part of it too. Like you gotta walk at least if I'm not gonna be skateboarding or biking around. I'm still gonna buy a bike. But yeah, I mean it's just all calibration. You know, you learn to manage your ups and downs, and eventually you find a sweet spot, and you can cheat every once in a while.
Nice. What about your relationship with psychedelics? Is there any psychedelic that you take every now and then for any purpose?
A good friend from Hamilton gave me some great Amazonian mushrooms, and I have been microdosing those. I've had a lot of great mushroom trips, so I trust it. And I mean, I did San Pedro, which is basically peyote in the desert with my friends in Peru on that same graduation trip. I'd like to do it again. I was hoping to do ayahuasca with you at some point, but we'll see in the future.
Hopefully in the future.
I mean, I was going into raves at the beginning of my stay in Canada.
Yeah.
Did a bunch of random shit there, you know, speed, and someone gave me crystal meth once by accident.
How was that?
It just gives you a lot of energy. But, I had a good time, and I got freaked out afterwards, but nothing happened, and I won't do it again. Again, that's not a psychedelic, but...
But it's an interesting drug. Like in California, a lot of people do a lot of crystal meth. And sounds like it's just like amazing, but then you're fucking hooked on max, because then when you come down, it's like life doesn't seem that great at all.
Yeah, the people I was with did E, and the next morning they were just so bummed out, and I was like, hey, let's go to the park, or let's do something fun. But I think historically drugs haven't affected me the way they affect most people. That's why marijuana picks me up, and a lot of drugs have not turned out as sour, but I'm really careful about it now.
Do you have some kind of spiritual path, or like what's your spiritual beliefs in general?
I believe we're all spiritual beings, and we're undergoing a consciousness shift. A lot of us have reached our breaking point, and it's either, evolve or self-destruct. And I've seen most benefits through meditation. I try to meditate every day. I learned to meditate when I was 17 on that same Peruvian trip. That was a very powerful trip for me. One of my best friends, Armando, he taught me how to meditate. He lived in India for a long time, and in Spain, and he instructed me. And then we snuck out to Sacsayhuaman. We meditated for the first time, and when I came off it, I was surrounded by luciérnagas.
So cool.
Fireflies.
So did you do San Pedro and Sacsayhuaman?
No, I didn't get to do that. His dad did tours of that.
Yeah.
But we didn't have a chance.
That would have been so sick.
I think I was underage too. I don't know what the legality is, but I don't think it would have mattered.
Yeah, I think it's illegal either way.
But I've had a lot of very powerful meditations and visions. Most recently this year, I have a naturopath who's part native, so she was doing a drum meditation and guiding me. And I pulled some energy from the earth and then from the cosmos. And I felt like I was levitating in this big orb.
Wow.
And she was 10 feet away. She was sitting across from me from the table, but I felt this blue flame coming above me, and I can't even remember all the things that happened, but afterwards she told me she's never felt that kind of energy from anyone before, and she almost fell off her chair. And I felt very empowered, and experiences like that motivate you to keep doing the good work. And it's important to grow as human beings and overcome our human obstacles, and then we can be our true selves and be a better service. You and I are artists. We're service to people to share goodness. So it's important that we nurture ourselves and take care of ourselves so we can be the best versions of ourselves.
Yeah, totally, man. Another question. What would you say is the biggest accomplishment of your life? It could be career, it could be whatever.
My biggest accomplishment would probably be my family. I never wanted, growing up, I learned in an environmental science class first, and then through research that the world is overpopulated, and you know, half of marriages fail. So I was very disheartened about, you know, the state of the world. So I was like, I'll never get married, I'll never have kids. I was just focused on doing my part. But then, you know,
That bee is just going at you.
you meet
Fuck
the right.
up, bitch! Get out of here! Let my brother speak.
Yeah, I was in a really bad place in Montreal before I moved to Spain, and that's when I decided to move to Spain. And I was in a midnight concert that our roommate Elena organized. And
Oh, yeah?
I saw this girl and this dude dancing in the front, and they were having such a good time. And I'm like, fuck, I gotta get there. You know, I want to be them. And that's when I shifted everything. Okay, I'm gonna sell everything, move to Spain, get a job there, start a new life as an artist there, because I had Juan Carlos, my friend, who was living there, and different artists who were
That's when you went to
succeeding.
Barcelona.
Yeah, just before. And then it was her birthday, and I met Gracia, who became my wife, who was the right person. Like, it was no doubt from the beginning. She was playful and insightful and beautiful, and it just, I was talking to, I think, Khalil, and I heard her laugh, and I kept turning back, and he's like, you want to go talk to someone else? And I'm like, yep. And I beelined for her, and I got super nervous and ran away, but she liked me too, and luckily we made something work. But there was no tension at the beginning, so there wasn't any expectation, so we just flowed naturally. Then I moved to Spain, and she came with me, and then we traveled through Europe and had a great time. And I think we moved in after 2 months. So when you move with someone, you live with them, you travel with them, you see every aspect and facet of themselves. And I think we were in Paris, and I decided I gotta propose to her on our anniversary. And it's, you know, that's what she wrote. And then we had, ironically enough, before that, when I was working, I was telling a girlfriend, a friend of mine, what I wanted. She asked me, what's your perfect girl? And I listed basically her. You know, Gracia was all of those, except she didn't know Spanish, and I've been teaching her. Then that's when I started to pay more attention to manifestation powers, and I always wanted twins, a boy-girl twins, and we don't have twins in our family, but you know, Gracia and I had issues for about 3.5 years to conceive, and fertility treatment gave us twins, boy and girl. So you know, it's a luck. Is it fully luck? I don't know. Experienced a lot of things like that in my life. I always wanted to be a traveling artist, which seemed absurd. And our parents were supportive enough, but also realistic. When I dropped out of college, they're like, you gotta go back and finish that, you know? It's probably a good idea. And then even the 10 years that I lived in Montreal, I did not succeed, you know? I did a lot of great jobs, and technically I should have succeeded, but, you know, I wasn't making a living. So I had to get jobs, you know, being a busboy, or I worked in a lot of shitty jobs. And what was I going to mention there? Yeah, anyway.
You're talking about your biggest accomplishments.
Yeah, but
Creating a family and having kids.
yes.
Nice. Well, congrats, man. That's something that I haven't done yet. Still not sure if it's for me. Like, I'm enjoying the ride of being, like, you know, alone, though I get quite lonely sometimes too, but I do still think it's possible for me. So, you know, I when I came to your inauguration the other day, I thought, was like, wow, that's so nice that my brother has that, you know, like, you know, you're giving your speech after a good mural, and your kids are there with your wife, and they're all so proud. I was like, oh, that's so cute, you know, like,
Yeah, it's a,
you know,
it's a special
part of me
little
wants
experience.
that, you know.
Yeah, for sure. I'm sure everybody would like that, but you know, with that comes a lot of other issues. You know, nothing's ever perfect, but you make the most of a situation. And something interesting that happened when I started becoming a father, because I didn't feel like a father for the first couple of years,
Oh yeah?
was because you have this image of what a father is, and our dad was a certain way from a certain generation. Those men are a certain way.
Gone doing motocross and working.
Yeah, but also their attitude and their approach to parenting, and it was so different from how I was becoming. And you know, once you become who you are, you're like, oh, this is great. You know, I can do this.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't want to skateboard anymore. You don't paint. I didn't want to paint. I didn't want to paint murals. When I started painting again, I wasn't motivated to do it because I just wanted to be with them. It was like nothing as joyful and enjoyable as being with my kids. So
Okay.
it was a struggle to get back into my mission because.
Well, better
I had
than you wanted to like being painting mural, not giving a shit about your kids.
Yeah, exactly. No, I love my kids and I'll do anything for them. But I lost that spark to paint for a while because they give you a heightened sense of purpose. You know, they change your priorities, and painting didn't seem as important. You know, providing did. So I got back into painting, and eventually, you know, now I'm fully into it, and now they're a part of it, and I can't wait for them to be old enough so they can work with me. But it was an adjustment period that I didn't foresee, you know, as an obstacle as a parent.
Interesting. Do you have any dreams still left in your life? Have you accomplished everything you wanted to accomplish? You're only, what, 38, right?
39, yeah.
39? Okay. And is there something, like a dream that you'd still like to accomplish in your half of a life you got left? Or more?
There's lots of dreams, yeah, man. There's still a lot of the world I haven't seen, and I like to see it with my kids, and I like to work and paint a mural in each of these places. I want them to get that kind of first grade education or first-hand education with each culture. I'd like to learn how to play an instrument. I don't know how to play any instruments. There's a lot of little things. I always wanted to train hop across Canada.
You never train hopped?
No, I never had a chance. I never felt.
I never did it neither. If you do it, let me know because I'd love to do it with you. But you've painted trains at least, right?
Yeah, I did that a lot at the beginning. It's really fun. I love the fact that they travel and.
You love trains.
Yeah, I've always been obsessed with trains. It's a weird obsession because in Peru there weren't any, but yeah, there's something about the smell of the train tracks. You know, the wood and the stones and the risk and the metal and the rust, and it's such a rich aesthetic experience. And then
train yards are great. Well, that's where you took me to paint. The first time I ever got down with spray paint, you took me to these tunnels in Ottawa, illegal. You got to jump the fences and you walk the train yard. And then I painted a graffiti piece with very like cookie cutter graffiti style. That was like the year 2000. And I thought it was like super cool. I just wanted to do it just to like, you know, do it, you know? And then I think I got bombed over right away. But I thought it was like really interesting.
That's the beauty of graffiti, man. There's the impermanence of it is a big part of it. Like, you can't have an ego with it. A lot of people obviously have huge egos when it comes to graffiti, but it aligned with my intention to make art and not take myself too seriously. I think that's dangerous. Similar with like tattoos, you know, it's like souvenirs of places I've been to, they're memories, but they're also an adornment. Without the ego, more self-esteem, you know. It's important to have self-esteem.
I see your right arm is very tattooed, but your left arm is not at all. What's up with that?
Well, I didn't want to be the tattoo guy when I started getting tattoos, like fully covered. So I decided for no reason just to do one half of my body. So I started doing my arm, and then my leg, and then my chest, and then I'm like, there was an issue with doing the top. I didn't want to have half a thing, and then I'm like, you know, what's this silly rule I made for myself? It's been 20-something years getting tattoos. I also get one tattoo every year, and I started designing them myself. So the first 20 tattoos or so I did myself. I studied the art form for a year. You know, Dia de los Muertos, I learned about the culture, the different kinds of tattoos. I researched it, and I made my own version of it. So that was a part of respecting the culture, and I wanted to become a tattoo artist at one point, but if you're not going to be devoted to it, it's almost disrespectful to it, so I'll wait in my later years. You
think you'll still be a tattoo artist at some point?
I like to learn how to do it.
Yeah, sick.
I love to tattoo myself.
Well,
but yeah, then I was like, oh, who cares? I'll just do the other side too, and I started tattooing my ribs as well. And
ribs hurts, huh?
Yeah, it's probably the most excruciating experience, especially the left side, because I've never experienced any pain on my left side, and it was a very unique.
And that's the emotional side.
Yeah. So yeah, that was cool. But now I'm gonna finish my knee next, and then start working on the left side.
Sick, dude. I'd love to get a knee. The knee's cool. I don't know if I want to do ribs. That, you know, that doesn't sound... And plus, I don't like to take off my shirt too much. I'm always kind of like... I got big boobs and a belly. I'm not the best without a shirt.
You can change that if you want. But
yeah, I'm trying to do my push-ups every day, but like, you know, being that in my 40s, it gets harder and harder. But
nice to decorate yourself, you know, and
yeah, for yourself.
Hide your imperfections.
Yeah, totally. I'll put a couple eyes on my boobs. Cool, man. Any final wise words to this crazy world we living in today?
I've seen a bunch of your interviews and I had that in mind, but I've never actually sat down and like trying to put it down. I think the male here, MF Doom, has a great song, In the Time of Your Life, so if you guys have a chance to look it up, listen to those words. Otherwise,
what does it talk about?
Words to live by, basically.
Okay.
You know, personally, I like, you know, I don't take myself too seriously, and that takes a lot of pressure off. Be true to yourself. If you're gonna get into graffiti, take your time to learn the ropes, you know, don't step on people's toes. Be respectful. In anything you do, be respectful, be kind, be a good person as much as you can. Meditation helps. Something that my wife always says to me, that I'm very lucky to have found a purpose in life, because so many people spend their whole lives searching for it. Mm-hmm. So I don't take that lightly. So when I make art, I'm very conscious of this, and I try to, you know, be mindful and respectful of each place that I get invited to paint. Mm-hmm. And try to honor that sacred bond and honor the community and do the best with each project, no matter who it's for or what it pays, because that's our legacy. You know?
Nice. That's beautiful, man. Well, thank you so much, Patrick, Peru. I'd like to give you a hug, but I know you're like being careful for your kids. But I'll give you a knocks. Woo! Big ups, brother, man. Yes, and thank you so much for doing this interview with me.
Yeah, I love nepotism, man. I don't know if I would have gotten into your interviews without being your brother, but it's an honor, and I hope I make you proud. And
yeah, no, totally. You totally make me proud. I honor you. I respect you. I love you. I'm so happy that I was able to ask all these questions to share more of your beauty and the great things that you do. So thanks for sharing this time with me. I'm happy I finally captured you for my collection of beautiful friends.
No doubt.
And thank you guys too, the viewers, for tuning in to another episode of Chris Dyer's Creative Friends. Please make sure to like this episode, comment if you got any comments about it, share, subscribe, and you know, if you're on Spotify, iTunes, Google, Anchor, make sure to give like a 4-star review or 5-star review or whatever is the best review, so it gives more momentum and more people can learn about these beautiful people I'm trying to share. So thank you and see you next time. Blessings! Woo! Next episode, my guest will be Macer.
Every day people have great ideas. You just gotta do it. Fuck it. Whatever happens, happens. Just do things. And something's gonna happen. Some people say to me like, oh, you always have this new project. You're always working on something. Everybody can do that. Everybody can always come up with, and everybody already does come up with the idea, but they never actually execute.
Right.
And I'm a victim of that too. Like, I don't execute half of the shit I think about.
So please make sure to subscribe, like, comment, and share. Big thanks, and see you next episode. Peace.